Ramesh realized that the girl was not his lawful wife, but he could not bear to uncover whose wife she truly was. Using a bit of tact, he asked her, "When you first saw me at our wedding, what went through your mind?" The girl replied, "I didn't see you at all. I kept my eyes lowered." Ramesh, "You hadn't even heard my name." The girl, "The day I heard there would be a wedding, the very next day the marriage took place. I never even heard your name." Aunt hurried to send me off. Ramesh, "All right. Since you've learned to read and write, spell your own name for me." Ramesh handed her a small piece of paper and a pencil. She said, "As if I couldn't do that. My name is very easy to spell." Then, in large letters, she wrote, "Shrimat Kamala Deva." Ramesh, "Good. Now write Uncle's name." Kamala wrote, "Shrajuta Taran Charan Chattopadhyay." Then she asked, "Is there any mistake anywhere?" Ramesh said, "No. Now write the name of your village." She wrote, "Dobapukur," in this way, by various careful means. Ramesh pieced together as much of the girl's background as he could, but it did not help much. After that, he sat down to consider his duty. Quite possibly her husband had drowned. Even if he managed to find her in-laws, would they accept her back if he sent her there? Doubtful. Sending her to her uncle's house would not be just either. After living in another's home as a bride for so long, if the truth were revealed today, what would become of her in society? Where would she belong? If her husband were alive, would he have the will or the courage to take her back? Wherever this girl was placed now, she would be cast into a bottomless sea. Ramesh could not keep her with him in any role other than as his wife, and there was nowhere else to keep her either. Yet to accept her as his own wife was also impossible. The picture Ramesh had begun to paint on the canvas of the future, of a household goddess shaped with strokes soaked in tenderness, had to be wiped away in haste. He could no longer stay in his village, thinking that in Calcutta, hidden within the crowds, he might find some way out. Ramesh brought Kamala to the city and rented a new place far from where he had lived before. Kamala's eagerness to see Calcutta knew no bounds. On the first day, upon entering the flat, she sat by the window. From there, the ceaseless flow of people on the street kept her mind absorbed with fresh curiosities. There was a maid in the house. Calcutta was old news to her. Irritated, she dismissed the girl's wonder as pointless foolishness and said, "Hey, what are you gaping at? It's late already, aren't you going to bathe?" The maid worked during the day and went home at night. They could not find anyone who would stay over. Ramesh thought, "I can't keep Kamala in the same bed anymore, and in this unfamiliar place, how will a young girl spend the night alone?" After dinner, the maid left. Ramesh showed Kamala her bed and said, "You sleep. I'll lie down after I finish reading." Saying this, he opened a book and pretended to read. Kamala, exhausted, did not take long to fall asleep. The night passed thus. The next night, too, by one pretext or another, Ramesh settled Kamala alone in her bed. It was very hot that day. There was a small open terrace in front of the bedroom. Ramesh spread a rug there and lay down, thinking of many things, feeling the night breeze on his hands and feet. He eventually fell fast asleep in the deep of night. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, half asleep, Ramesh felt he was not lying there alone. Beside him, a hand fan was moving gently. In his drowsiness, he pulled the person nearer and murmured in a voice thick with sleep, "Sushila, go to sleep. You don't need to fan me." Afraid of the dark, Kamala nestled into the refuge of his chest within his arms and fell asleep in peace. At dawn, Ramesh awoke with a start. He saw Kamala's right arm wrapped around his neck in sleep. She had, with innocent ease, stretched her trusting claim across his chest and lay there at rest. Looking at the sleeping girl's face, Ramesh's eyes filled with tears. How could he separate this soft, unquestioning embrace? He remembered how, sometime in the night, the girl had come to his side and gently fanned him. With a long sigh, he slowly loosened her arm and got up from the bed. After much thought, Ramesh decided to place Kamala in a girls' school boarding house. That way, for the time being at least, he might be spared some worries. Ramesh asked Kamala, "Kamala, would you like to study?" Kamala looked at his face as if to say, "You tell me." Ramesh spoke at length about the benefits and joys of learning. It wasn't necessary. Kamala said, "Teach me to read." Ramesh said, "Then you'll have to go to school." Startled, Kamala said, "To school? At my age I should go to school?" Smiling a little at this sense of adult dignity, Ramesh said, "Many women older than you go to school." Kamala said nothing more. One day she rode with Ramesh to the school. It was a huge building, filled with women and girls of all ages, too many to count. After entrusting Kamala to the headmistress, when Ramesh started to leave, Kamala began to walk out with him. Ramesh said, "Where are you going?" "You have to stay here," Kamala asked in a frightened voice. "You won't stay here." Ramesh, "I can't stay here." Kamala pressed his hand and said, "Then I can't stay either. Take me with you." Ramesh pulled his hand away and said, "Hush, Kamala." Stung by the rebuke, Kamala stood still. Her face seemed to shrink to nothing. With a pained heart, Ramesh hurried away, but the image of that stunned, helpless, frightened face remained stamped on his mind. Ramesh had planned to begin his legal practice at Alipore, but his heart wasn't in it. He lacked the steadiness of mind to start work and push through the early obstacles. For some days, he wandered idly across the Hooghly Bridge and around Goldigi. Once he thought of traveling west for a while. Just then a letter arrived from Ananda Babu. Ananda Babu wrote, "I saw in the Gazette that you passed, but I was sorry not to hear it from you. I haven't had news of you in a long time. Tell me how you are, and when you'll come to Calcutta, set my mind at ease and give me joy." It is not irrelevant to add here that the son of Ananda Babu, who had gone to England, had returned as a barrister, and preparations were underway for his marriage to a wealthy girl. After all that had happened in the meantime, Ramesh could not decide whether it would be proper to meet Hemnalini as before. He did not feel it his duty to tell anyone what sort of relationship had lately arisen between him and Kamala. He could not expose the innocent Kamala to the world's scorn. Yet how could he reclaim his former place with Hemnalini without speaking plainly about everything? Still, it was no longer right to delay replying to Ananda Babu's letter. He wrote, "For grave reasons I am unable to meet with you. Please forgive me." He did not include his new address. The very next day after posting the letter, Ramesh put on his black coat and set out to attend the Alipore court. One day, returning from court on foot, he was haggling with a carriage driver over the fare when he heard a familiar, eager voice. "Father, there is Ramesh Babu." "Driver, stop, stop!" The carriage pulled up beside him. That day, after attending a picnic at the Alipore Zoo, Ananda Babu and his daughter were returning home when By chance, this encounter occurred at once. Seeing in the carriage Hemnalini's serene, grave face, her characteristic way of wearing a sari, the familiar style of her hair, the plain bangles on her wrists, and the 2 strings of star-cut gold bracelets, Ramesh felt a swell rise from his chest to his throat. Annada Babu said, "Well, Ramesh, lucky we met on the road. These days you've stopped writing letters, and when you do, you don't give an address. Where are you headed now? Something urgent?" Ramesh said, "No, I'm just coming back from court." Annada Babu, "Then come have tea with us. Come." Ramesh's heart brimmed over. There was no room left for hesitation. He climbed into the carriage. Forcing himself to overcome his shyness, he asked Hemnalini, "Are you well?" Without answering the courtesies, Hemnalini said, "You passed and still didn't let us know even once?" Unable to find a reply, Ramesh said, "I see you passed as well." Hemnalini smiled. "At least you keep up with our news." Annada Babu asked, "Where are you living now?" Ramesh said, "In Jajipara." Annada Babu, "Why? Your old place in Kolutola wasn't bad." At this, Hemnalini looked at Ramesh with particular curiosity, a look that struck him hard. He blurted out at once, "Yes, I've decided to move back there." He understood well that Hemnalini had taken offense at his moving, and knowing there was no way to justify himself, he felt tormented. No one asked further questions. Hemnalini kept her eyes fixed on the road outside the carriage. Ramesh, unable to bear it, volunteered, "A relative of mine lives near Hedua. I moved to Jajipara to look in on him." He wasn't exactly lying, but the explanation sounded awkward. Was Kolutola really so far from Hedua for the occasional visit? Hemnalini's sad eyes remained on the road outside. Poor Ramesh could think of nothing else to say. He only asked, "Any news of Yogan?" Annada Babu said, "He failed the law exam and went west to clear his head." When the carriage reached their house, the familiar rooms and furnishings cast a spell over Ramesh. A deep sigh rose from his chest. He said nothing and took his tea. Suddenly, Annada Babu asked, "You were home quite a while this time. Was there work?" Ramesh said, "My father has passed away." Annada Babu, "What? What are you saying? How did it happen?" Ramesh, "He was sailing home along the Padma when a sudden storm sank the boat. As a strong wind can suddenly scatter the clouds and clear the sky, so too this news of grief swept away the misunderstanding between Ramesh and Hemnalini in an instant." In remorse, Hemnalini thought, "We misjudged Ramesh Babu. He was distraught with the shock and turmoil of his father's death. Even now he may be wandering in that sorrow. What worldly difficulties has it brought? What weight has it laid on his mind? We knew none of it, yet we blamed him." She began to care for this fatherless man all the more. Ramesh had little appetite. She pressed him to eat. "You've grown so thin," she said. "Don't neglect your health." Then she said to her father, "Baba, why don't we have Ramesh Babu dine here tonight as well?" "Very well," said Annada Babu. Just then Akshay arrived. Of late, Akshay had held a sort of monopoly at Annada Babu's tea table. Seeing Ramesh there today, he stopped short. Regaining his composure, he smiled and said, "Well now, Ramesh Babu, I thought you had quite forgotten us." Ramesh only gave a faint smile. Akshay said, "Your father seemed to arrest you rather quickly. I thought this time he wouldn't let you go without getting you married. So you slipped the noose, did you?" Hemnalini pierced Akshay with an irritated glance. Anada Babu said, "Akshay, Ramesh has lost his father." Ramesh sat with his pale face bowed. Because Akshay had touched pain upon pain, Hemnalini grew very angry with him in her heart. She quickly said to Ramesh, "You haven't seen our new album yet," and bringing it over led him to one end of the table to look through the pictures. After a while, she gently asked, "Ramesh Babu, you live alone at your new place, don't you?" "Yes," said Ramesh. Hemnalini, "Don't put off coming over to the house next door." Ramesh, "No, I'll certainly come this Monday." Hemnalini, "I was thinking I might have you explain some of our BA philosophy now and then." Ramesh showed particular eagerness at that.